90% of beginners for computer networking or network engineering waste time troubleshooting VPNs when they get on the actual real job. So in today's video, I'm going to provide a checklist for you just in case you ever need to troubleshoot IPsec VPN tunnels, whether it's on the job or you're just starting out and you just want to learn. So it'll be an easy to follow checklist, and this will definitely help you out later on in your career. So let's go ahead and get started and jump into this lab. All right, now that we're in router one, you can see that I jumped in there. And the first thing that you want to look at, or the first command when you're checking out a tunnel, is show crypto ISACamp SA. And right here, the output is showing that there's nothing right here. So that immediately tells you that phase one is down of your tunnel. And like I explained earlier, phase one is just between R1 and R3 agreeing between them all of the parameters of setting up a secure tunnel over the internet. So that means that some of those parameters did not match up, because if they had, you would see that this would have some kind of output at the end of this command of the show crypto ISACamp SA, because this is the command to check phase one of your tunnel. So for your part on your end of this tunnel, because there are going to be those two parts of the tunnel, you have R1 has its configuration parameters, and then R3 has its configuration parameters. So let's look at the configuration parameters for phase one on R1. If you do show run section crypto on the router that you're on, what you're going to look for is a policy. Mine is numbered policy 1, but yours may look something similar to that. And that's what you're looking for, is this policy, because this is everything that's related to phase one. As you can see here, we have encryption AES 256. This is encryption algorithm 256. And then we have group 5. This is just another parameter. So they have two parameters on R1. Let's jump over to R3 and see how many parameters are configured on that one for phase one. All right, I'm in R3. And now if we look at that same command over here, section crypto, you could see we have 1, 2, 3 different parameters under this phase one, or this crypto ISACamp policy. So let me hold them up side by side so you guys can really see what the difference between the two. First, we have right here, those parameters on R1, and then here are the parameters on R3. As you can see, there's one that's missing, and that's causing the issue with phase one of the tunnel. And it's that authentication pre-share parameter, which is just a pre-share key, which is a key that they're going to use over the internet to establish this tunnel. So let's just go ahead and configure that on R1. If we jump on that, all you have to do is go underneath the policy, crypto ISACamp policy 1, and then the command is authentication pre-share. Once you do that, you could save it, right? Then we could bounce the tunnel. Let's bounce it, bring it down, goes down, let's bring it up, save the config. And now we do have to give it time to negotiate, but what's happening in the background is R1 and R3 are negotiating to bring up a tunnel. And as you can see, loading done for OSPF, and my tunnel is up because we put that in. If we look at our command again to check out phase one, now we have QM idle. That's what we're looking for. No state, this was when it was negotiating and it failed and there was a no state, so this one got deleted. So you just want to pay attention to this state QM idle for phase one. Now you know that the tunnel is established. But like I said, there are two phases, so let's take a look at phase two. Okay, we're still in R1 and we see that phase one is established and everything is looking good, as well as your tunnel is looking good. So if you do show interface, or we could do show IP interface brief, and we could see that our tunnel is up, and we've also verified phase one. However, phase two is where the actual data, like that image, the video, or that email, or whatever is coming across that tunnel, that's the phase two is when it's actually encrypted. So we want to check if that's working as well, because all of this can be working. Your phase one can be working and tunnel 10 can be working. But if we try to ping that remote end of the tunnel, since this is 192.168.1.1, I got 1.2 configured for the remote end. what you may encounter sometimes is when phase one is up and the tunnel is up, but as you can see, you still are unable to ping across that tunnel, meaning you can't transfer your data securely over the insecure network or that over the internet that's not secure. So what you want to do for this to verify this is you show crypto, yes, SA. When you run that, it's going to be a lot of output, but what you want to focus on mainly are packets encaps and packets decaps, or packets encrypt and packets decrypt. This is showing you that the phase two is actually encrypting the data and it's actually decrypting, meaning it's coming back in. Sometimes you may have it where it's just encrypting and it might not be decrypting it. The software could be corrupt for the device you're working on. You might have to, it might be end of life. Anything can happen when it malfunctions like that. Or it could be something like a configuration issue, maybe an iOS issue. Anything can happen to cause it to just have it to encrypt or to just decrypt. But what you want to see is packets being encrypted and decrypted. So again, if we run our ping, this should be going across the tunnel. We should be sending packets, but they're not even hitting phase two. So the same thing that we did for phase one, we want to do for phase two. We would just want to match the parameters. The best way to match the parameters is to run a debug. That way you can see all the parameters coming across, but this is the lab, but just for the sake of time purposes, I don't want to run that. And you don't want to run that in production, but that is an option to compare these parameters instead of doing a stair compare, which I'm doing, which is just looking at the running config of both of the ends of the tunnel because I have access to them. So if we do show run section crypto, we know that this part, all of this has to do, if it's ISA, ISACAMP, it has to do with that policy or phase one. Anything when you say IPsec, that has to do with phase two. So again, we have all of this configuration, 3 lines right there, right? So if we pop out of here and let's bring up our remote end, and we already have it pulled up from the previous time, and then we just look at how many lines he has. He has 3, so that's not the issue this time, but look at the transform set. This one has a name of Cisco, and this one has a name of Ninja, and also a set transfer set. Everything else looks correct except for this Cisco and the Ninja. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a change and update this transform set or this piece of configuration for phase two. And we're going to change the name of that transform set to Ninja to match that, which is in the IPsec profile. And then everything should come up with the tunnel fully. So let's go ahead and do that. So first we're going to go in here, get on the tunnel, and we're going to shut it down so we can make this change. And then after that, we're going to go crypto, IPsec, and then the transform set, Cisco, we got to type that out, ESP, AES for the encryption, and then ESP, SHA, HMAC for the hashing for the IPsec portion of the tunnel. And then we're going to jump to the beginning of the line, hit no. Use our up arrow, delete that out, go over to the word Cisco. We're going to change that to Ninja, all caps, because it has to match the parameters. The same as it is over here, it has to match that. So we go all caps, Ninja, exit, and now we bring up the tunnel and save our config. Once the tunnel comes up, you do have to give it a second to negotiate, but as you see, OSPF already came up. And now if we try to ping that other end of the tunnel, it's successful because our tunnel is now up. If we look at phase one, we still have that QM idle, right? Because phase one was always up. But if we look now at phase two, look, we actually have traffic passing that's getting encrypted. So our tunnel, yes, they negotiated that we are going to do a tunnel, but what they didn't negotiate on was the encryption, and we fixed that. And now we can see two-way traffic. Both packets are being encrypted and decrypted. So again, there's 16 right there. If you run that ping command, there's 5 packets. So we should expect at least 21 something to pop up, right? And we got 24. So because some other packets or keep alives and stuff are flowing across the tunnel too, that's also getting encrypted and decrypted. So that's how you verify phase two of the tunnel. And we've brought the whole tunnel up, and we're able to ping all the way from the subnet where PC1 is to the subnet all the way over across the internet to where the subnet where PC2 is. Again, hopefully all of that made sense. All right, that pretty much wraps it up. Let me just give a brief recap before we get out of here. All we had to do to troubleshoot this IPsec VPN tunnel today was verify the routing between both the endpoints. Basically, just see if you can ping over to the other end of the tunnel to that IP address and make sure all of the routing is in place for that. After that, to verify the IPsec tunnel, you want to verify phase one, meaning did they verify the parameters between both of them? Did they agree on that and bring up a tunnel that said, hey, we are going to establish the tunnel with whatever endpoint you were dealing with? You have to make sure that all of those parameters match. And then after that, if you see phase one is up and you're still down with your connectivity to the other end of the tunnel, you want to check out phase two with the show crypto IPS SA command. This will show if the data is actually being encrypted. Remember that the tunnel can be established, that both routers or both tunnel endpoints can agree to have a tunnel, but that doesn't mean that they have to agree that they'll encrypt the traffic. So you're going to have to check out those parameters. If this walkthrough helped you, definitely hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and comment below on some of the VPN issues you may have faced. And again, if you like this kind of content, you want to subscribe, because next week we will be going over how to build the tunnel. That way you how to troubleshoot it as well as build it, just in case you have to go through those configuration parameters, because I got some tips and tricks on how to build the tunnel quick and how to troubleshoot and look at that configuration quick. So I'll definitely catch y'all on that next video. Y'all tap in with me. Peace.